Have you ever found yourself able to binge an entire season of a TV show, no problem, but the moment you try to study for, say, 30 minutes, it feels like absolute torture? Yeah, that's the monkey brain paradox. It's this part of you that kind of knows what's good for you in the long run, but man, it is just wired for that instant good feeling. So, how do we actually trick our own brains into wanting to do the hard stuff? Let's dive in.
Okay, so look at these two sides. On one hand, you've got easy fun, right? Playing video games for hours, scrolling social media till your thumb feels like it's going to fall off. Your brain is all in on this. But then, on the other side, there's the hard work, studying for that exam, finally starting that side project. You're 5 minutes in, and all of a sudden, checking what's in the fridge feels like the most important mission on Earth. So why? Why does our brain fight us on the very things that are actually going to help us down the road?
So here's our game plan for today. First up, we're going to really get into this whole monkey brain thing and the chemical that's secretly running the show. Then, we're going to get super practical with 5 tricks you can start using like today to turn that to-do list into a game you actually want to win. And finally, we'll talk about the big choice that this all leads up to.
All right, so let's properly introduce the star of the show, the monkey brain. This is the part of you that totally gets that, yeah, exercise is good and studying leads to better grades. But when you're actually faced with a choice, it's almost always going to grab for that quick, easy hit of feel-good chemicals from a distraction. You know, it's not really a flaw, it's more like a feature of our old programming. But to outsmart it, we have to understand the chemical that's driving it.
Now, I'm sure you've heard people call dopamine the pleasure molecule, but that's not exactly right. See, dopamine isn't really about feeling pleasure. It's the chemical that makes you want to get the thing that brings you pleasure. It's the craving. Just think of it like an invisible banana hanging just out of reach, and it's the thing that gets your inner monkey brain to get up and go chase it.
And this quote just nails it. Scientists actually saw this in some pretty wild experiments with lab rats. They gave these rats a lever that would give their brains a little zap of dopamine. The rats would just press it over and over and over, completely forgetting to eat or even sleep. But then, when they blocked the dopamine, the rats became so unmotivated they wouldn't even bother to eat food that was placed right next to them. So the crucial thing to remember is this: dopamine drives the chase.
Okay, so if dopamine is just a motivator, what's the big deal? Well, the problem is our world today. It's like a 24/7 all-you-can-eat buffet of high dopamine stuff, and it has totally spoiled our brains. It's made normal, productive work feel incredibly, well, boring.
And to get why, we need to talk about this one idea: homeostasis. It's basically your brain's #1 rule. Keep everything in balance. It's super simple, really. If you get too hot, you start to sweat. If you get too cold, you shiver. Well, your brain does the exact same thing with its chemistry, and that includes dopamine.
So when we are just constantly flooding our brains with these huge dopamine hits from social media, video games, you name it, something has to give. To keep everything balanced, to maintain that homeostasis, the brain adapts. And how does it adapt? It actually starts reducing the number of dopamine receptors. This is what we call dopamine tolerance. And what it means is you start needing bigger and bigger hits just to feel normal.
And this right here is the result. Your brain gets totally used to this diet of candy bananas. So when you try to offer it a plain old healthy banana, like say reading a textbook, it's just not interested. Studying doesn't give you that instant sugar rush of dopamine, so it feels dull, sometimes even physically painful. Your brain isn't broken, it's just really, really spoiled.
So, the big question is, how do we fix this? We can't just rely on sheer willpower, because that's a battle we're going to lose. No. Instead, we have to get clever. We have to trick the monkey brain. And the first, and honestly most powerful trick, is all about gamification. Since our brain already loves games, points, and rewards, let's just turn our work into a game it'll actually want to play.
Here's a really simple way to do it. Let's call it banana points. Step 1. Just list out all the stuff you need to do today. Simple. Step 2. Assign points or bananas to each task based on how hard it is. You know, a big report gets more bananas than cleaning your room. Step 3, and this is the most important part, create a menu of rewards that you can buy with those points. Maybe a 15-minute break costs 5 bananas. Watching an episode of that show you love, that'll be 10. This system turns your boring to-do list into a series of quests and levels, giving your brain the clear rewards it's been craving all along.
Okay, let's keep it moving and get into our next 2 tricks. These are all about beating that initial feeling of, I don't wanna, and then keeping the momentum going once you start. These are quick little hacks you can put into practice right away.
Trick number 2 is what they call the 2-minute rule.
Your monkey brain absolutely hates the idea of climbing some giant mountain of work, but it usually doesn't mind taking one tiny little step. So whatever the big task is, just tell yourself you're only going to do it for 2 minutes. That's it. Just read one page, do one push-up, write one single sentence.
And that's where the magic is. Honestly, the hardest part of anything is just getting started. But once you begin, you create this little bit of momentum. And so often, that 2 minutes of studying turns into 10 minutes, which turns into 30. The goal isn't to finish the whole thing. The goal is just to start.
All right, trick number 3 is giving yourself instant bananas. Remember, the monkey brain works on immediate gratification. A big reward at the end of the week is just, it's too far away to even matter. So you got to give yourself a small, immediate reward right after you finish a small task. Write a page, then eat a snack. Do your push-ups, then watch a funny video. This keeps that dopamine loop going, and it makes the process of working feel good in the moment.
Now, for our final 2 tricks. These leverage some really powerful forces both outside of us and inside of us, social pressure and our own sense of self. Let's see how these can really lock in the changes.
Okay, trick number 4 is simple. Squad up. A monkey on its own can be pretty lazy, but a monkey in a squad? Way more motivated. This is all about accountability. When you study with friends, or you join a work group, or you even just tell somebody what your goals are, you're so much less likely to slack off. Come on, nobody wants to be seen as the slacker of the troop, right?
And here's our final trick, number 5, shift your identity. This one is huge. Your actions almost always try to line up with who you believe you are. So if you're always telling yourself, ugh, I'm so lazy, guess what? You're going to act lazy. But what if you start telling yourself, I am a disciplined person, or I am the kind of person who finishes what I start? Over time, your behavior will actually start to follow that new belief.
So, when you boil it all down, dopamine isn't the bad guy here. Not at all. It's an incredibly powerful tool that's helped us survive, create, and make progress for thousands of years. The real challenge for us today isn't to get rid of it, but just to be a little more mindful about where we're getting it from. And that brings us to the final fundamental choice. Are you going to keep chasing those candy bananas? You know, the cheap, easy dopamine hits from endless scrolling and just passively consuming stuff? Or are you going to start chasing the real bananas, that earned, deeply fulfilling dopamine that only comes from growth, from learning, and from making real progress on the things that actually matter to you?
Look, this isn't about forcing yourself to be disciplined with raw willpower. That's a losing game. This is about understanding your brain's own operating system and using these little tricks to work with it instead of constantly fighting against it. By turning your work into a game and choosing your rewards with intention, you can make the hard things in life feel less like a chore and more like a challenge that's actually worth winning. So the only real question left is, which bananas are you going to choose?